Chase it. The only one you ever made. Yeah, you're right. It's hard.
So, welcome to the fall 2014 election cycle and the official start of it with the candidates meeting. If I haven't already met you, my name is Casey Moore. I am the Vice Chair for Elections for the Nominations and Elections Committee, which is in the back of the room right now. If throughout the process, from now until the end of voting, until the FPC if we have one, I am your main point of contact. So you can reach me at elections@penn-nec.org. There's also the elections phone number that's listed in your candidate packet that is still available on the penn-nec.org website if you need information from that, because all that information is still valid. But preferably, I'm pretty good with my email, so please reach out to elections@penn-nec.org at any time if you have any questions. Okay, so here's what we're going to be covering tonight. First, we're going to start with the calendar, which you should all be pretty familiar with by now. We're going to move on to midnight breakfast, publicity for you guys for the campaigns, posters and internet policies, spending form policies, violations of the Fair Practices Code, voting and the voting period, position breakdown, how many people are running for what, how to declare your official candidacy, which we'll be using those forms that all of you now have, and then we'll end with questions and answers. So please hold all of your questions until the end, and I will try to answer as many as possible. Okay, so here's the elections calendar. Tomorrow at 7 a.m., the monetary campaigning period begins. Until then, you are not allowed to campaign as defined by the FPC with anything of monetary value. That includes posters, T-shirts, stickers, anything that you pay for, and including anything of monetary value that you own beforehand. More on that later. Voting begins after midnight breakfast at 12 a.m. Monday, September 15th, ends 5 p.m. that Friday. Spending forms will be due that Friday between 5 and 7 in the NEC office. If there's no FPC charges filed, you will know the results of the election by 9 p.m. that evening. If there are FPC charges filed, then you will know that by 9 p.m. that evening. We will have the FPC hearing Sunday, September 21st at 1 p.m. It's a public hearing. The NEC will deliberate, and then results will be announced after. So here's more information on the monetary campaigning period. Basically, it begins tomorrow at 7 a.m., no earlier. And the monetary campaigning period ends when voting closes. That's very important to recognize, because generally you need to have all of your posters and all of your campaign materials taken down from any university areas before we can announce the results. So you need to make sure that you clean that up so that it's taken care of and the university doesn't have to deal with that. This is the only time that you are allowed to use materials of monetary value. A lot of you have asked me questions about this already, and I hope I've answered them, and I hope you haven't started using them. 7 a.m. is not an arbitrary time. We'll have NEC members out on local walks starting at like 6:30 a.m. just to make sure that no one's getting an unfair advantage. So make sure that you really stick to that. Something to also clarify, if you haven't already, you can purchase items, you can print posters, you can make posters, you can make T-shirts before the start of 7 a.m. However, you cannot use them to solicit votes or to campaign in any way until 7 a.m. So you will not be able to show them to the public before 7 a.m. If you have a question about that, save it for the end. Okay, midnight breakfast. This is super important for you guys. On Sunday, September 14th, in the Hall of Flags in Houston Hall, we have an event called Midnight Breakfast, which is basically an opportunity for all of you guys to meet the people who will eventually be voting for you. So basically, the NEC publicizes this heavily, and as many freshmen as possible are welcome to come. There's breakfast food served, and you guys are welcome to mingle with the candidates, tell them your platform, and try to get them to vote for you. This is an awesome opportunity for you guys. You'll be receiving an email with more information about this later, but there will also be a projected PowerPoint of all of your photos and the information that we're going to ask you to answer in that email, cycling through the entire night. So basically, they'll be able to see you, and you can walk around and meet people. Clearly, you can see that people use pretty creative ideas in the past to try to get their names out there. There won't be any posters hanging up on the wall, so it's really up to you guys to go around and meet people. So this is your main opportunity to kick off campaigning in a really effective means, because all the freshman class will be there. And it's also your responsibility to help us get people there, because the more people that are there, the more people you guys get to speak with throughout the night. So this is a really helpful opportunity for you. And at the end of this ends at midnight. that's when voting starts. So it's fresh on their minds, and they'll be able to start voting for you online at penn.gov.com right after that. So, how else do you publicize your campaign besides for midnight breakfast? Here's some common things. All of you submitted, or most of you submitted, candidate statements for the DP spread. That's the print spread that will be printed on Monday on the first day of voting. There's also a DP Candidate Center online that includes all the candidate statements and all your photos that people can view that will go live Sunday night, and that will be interactive throughout the week. If you decided to record a video for the DP, that will also be online. So you can direct people to that video and to that site, and you can also ask the DP for a copy of that video if you want to use it for your own purposes. So reach out to the DP if you want to use that. Some other techniques, posters obviously on Locust Walk. You can hand out flyers, and you can certainly use social media. But most importantly, the thing that we find year after year is that you guys are the best way to campaign. Meeting people, talking to people, going to your friends, going to people in your hall, in your building, going to other buildings is the best way to get your name out there and to get you an effective campaign going. So this is a fall 2008 voter survey, but it's a pattern that's pretty consistent. And as you can see, the actual candidates' campaigns are the most effective according to candidates who answered this, or according to voters who answered this survey. So voters think that when you meet them, they want to vote for you, and they get to know you a lot better than simply seeing a poster on Locust. So that's a really great way to campaign. It's just going out there and meeting people, and that's something that the NEC really encourages. All of these slides will be online, by the way, on the Penn NEC website. So you don't need to take photos. You can, but you don't need to. So how do you publicize your campaign? Meet people, talk to people, make friends, and get the word out there yourselves. So next, obviously, hopefully, all of you have read the FPC by now, and we have a lot of complex poster rules and regulations. Some of these are university policies, and most of them are NEC policies. So I'm going to go through the main points, and then we're going to do whether or not you guys understand the postering policy. So if it's an NEC policy, it's enforced by us, and if the purpose of it is to make sure everyone has a fair opportunity to get their campaign out there and that no one is breaking those rules. The punishment if you violate those rules and it's reported as an FCC violation is disqualification. The university policies, on the other hand, are enforced by the university, and facilities are the ones that handle that. So they can either fine you or they can forward you to the Office of Student Conduct, which is an entirely other issue outside of the NEC. So basically, as far as NEC poster policies goes, you are only allowed in freely accessible areas. That means no fraternity houses, no sorority houses, and no off-campus houses. You're also not allowed to put in windows and balconies of residential rooms. So if you live in a window facing the quad, you can't have a poster hanging out of your window. Does that make sense? And finally, but pretty importantly, don't tamper with others' campaigning materials. That includes ripping down posters, putting your posters over others, tearing them, writing on them. Just don't tamper with them at all. Some other highlights, that is very important. So you're only allowed one poster for every non-building object. So basically that includes trees, kiosks, everything that's not a building. And you cannot have any posters suspended between two or more objects. So you can't hang posters between two trees, for example. So here's some university policy highlights. When you are postering in the college houses, every college house has a different policy, so it's important to make sure that you follow up with that college house dean. But generally, the fine is $1 per illegal poster. So they will follow up with you and they will fine you, so make sure that you're in accordance with these rules as well. The university says you're only allowed one poster per kiosk. That's also consistent with the NEC's one poster per non-building object rule. And this year, the university, since the bridge over 38th Street has been redone this past summer, they're not allowing any posters on the bridge. They will be removed by facilities immediately. So do not put posters on the bridge because they're going to get turned down. That's fair warning for everyone. So you can only use strings when putting posters on trees. Masking tape is okay when you're hanging up posters and taping them to places. Staples can only be used on bulletin boards or kiosks, and duct tape is never allowed because it messes with the facade of the buildings, and the university wants to protect those. Here's some things where posters are never allowed according to the university. Trees in the quad, like I said, 38th Street Bridge, lamppost columns, trash cans, benches, and college house bathroom stalls. No posters are allowed in there at all. You're also not allowed to chalk on vertical areas. So you're not allowed to chalk on walls, for example. Because basically the reasoning behind this is that otherwise rain can wash it away pretty easily. But if you're on a vertical surface, they have to pay someone to go in and wash it off, which is a huge hassle for the university, so they don't allow this at all. And there's no spray chalk allowed. Basically, this is not the NEC, but this is a university policy. Somebody violated the university policy. They were fined money. They were referred to the Office of Student Conduct who investigated the incident. They were required to write and present a formal apology for their actions. They were required to do 12 hours of community service. And most Office of Student Conduct cases go on permanent record. So the university rules are very serious ones that you don't want to mess around with. So what's important is what to put on your posters. What's going to be an effective way to campaign using posters? So basically, one of the most important things is that you should be putting the date and website of where people can vote for you on your posters. And that website is pensa.gov.com. Voting begins at midnight on Monday, September 15th, and closes at 5 p.m. on Friday, September 19th. That's very important dates and locations to put on your posters. Additionally, the NEC encourages you to be substantive, have concrete issues that you can actually accomplish, and to understand the actual powers of what you're running for. Many of you have done this already, but a great way to learn about this is to talk to people who are currently in those positions in older classes, because they can give you some solid ideas of what's actually accomplishable when you eventually take on these positions. So here's some descriptions of each position on the class board and what they're responsible for. Check this out when it's posted online, because these are super important. Okay, so basically what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you a picture of a candidate's poster, and you guys have to tell me whether it's allowed or not allowed and what rule it's breaking. So I'm going to show you a poster and ask you if it's allowed, say yes or no out loud, and then we'll figure out which rule it's breaking. Okay, first, this picture, allowed or not allowed? Why not?
In the bathroom.
Right. College house bathroom stalls, not allowed. What about this one?
That's on a bridge, isn't it?
No. Yes or no? No. Why not?
Can't be on the floor.
Yeah, you can't intentionally affix something to the floor. That's an NEC policy too.
Falls on the floor.
So that's what I'm getting to. Obviously, if something falls on the floor and you don't intentionally affix it to the floor with tape, then it's not really an issue, but please make sure that you're cleaning up anything that falls or tears down, because you're going to have to do that at the end of campaigning anyway. What about this one? Yes or no? Why not? Correct. No garbage cans. That's a university policy. Why not? Right, there's never posters allowed on trees in the quad. This one.
No.
Why do you say yes?
Because that's stairs.
That's the one exception to the rule. Stairs in the quad.
So there are no posters allowed on stairs, but you are allowed to chalk on the stairs in the quad. That's the one vertical surface where you're allowed to chalk, but no posters are allowed there. What about this one? Yeah, this is in a fraternity house, so it's not fully accessible to all students, so that is not allowed. This one? Why not? Right, not allowed because one poster per candidate per non-voting object. This is a kiosk, so they have one poster on it per candidate. What about this one?
No. Oh, it's on top of it.
Why not?
On top.
This one's actually good. There's one poster per candidate on the kiosk. It's hung using staples or tape, and it's all good. So this is something that is definitely allowed by both the NEC and the university. This one. Right, if you're putting it on a tree, you have to use string. No tape on trees. What about this one? Right, only one poster per candidate per non-building object. What about this one?
Yeah.
This one is allowed. There's one poster per candidate. It's hung using string. This one. Yes or no? Right, you're not allowed to suspend posters between 2 or more objects. And honestly, I don't think the university would ever allow one of you guys to use one of those prime poster spaces anyway, so this is not really allowed. What about this one? Correct. There's 2 things wrong with this. It's on the ground and it's on the bridge. No posters allowed on the bridge at all. What about this one? Correct. Not allowed. University says there's no posters allowed on the bridge. They will be taken down immediately. Okay, so that was pretty good. If you have any questions about specific poster policies or any rules, ask at the end, and I can clarify if you need. So basically, as far as internet and social media policies go, there's a couple things that you guys may and may not do, and that includes your surrogates as the FPC. So basically, you are allowed to write on the walls of unofficial groups. That means groups that aren't created and regulated by the university or university faculty or staff. You're allowed to do that. And you are allowed to email course listservs if and only if you get the permission of the instructor beforehand. Now some things that you are not allowed to do. You are not allowed to post on any official class listserv, any official school listserv, a combination of the 2, any program listservs, or write on any of the walls or pages of any official Penn Facebook groups. Okay, so basically, postering rules, they're very serious. Make sure you follow them because they're very easy to break. If you ever have a question, always ask it just to make sure you're in the right. Better safe than sorry. All right, so many of you are probably wondering how much money do you have to spend on campaigning for this next week and a half. Basically, every candidate in this room has a maximum of $50 US to spend for their entire campaign. Even if you are running for 2 positions, you only have $50 total to spend. Spending forms and all accompanying receipts of items that you bought are due in the NEC office between 5 and 7 p.m. on Friday, September 19th. If you do not turn in your spending form, even if you spent $0, then automatic disqualification. That's a very important thing to remember, so make sure that you record everything you spend, keep all receipts, and turn in those forms so that you avoid any trouble. Okay, the spending form is in your candidate packet, and there's instructions on how to fill it out. Again, if you have any questions about this, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I am more than happy to clarify for you. So what counts toward your spending limit? Basically, anything that you use to campaign or is related to your campaign must be accounted for on your spending form. However, you do not have to include tape, glue, staples, string, anything that you use to affix your campaign materials to anything else. So a question you might be wondering is, what if I already own something and I didn't spend any money on it during the campaign period? For example, what if you already own a poster that says, "Vote for my name for UA new student representative"? It's a good question. It still counts. So make sure that you record that amount on your spending form. And all of the amounts for items that are like paper, posters, markers are all available on the spending form instructions. What if you don't know how much something costs that you already own? If you do not have a receipt, you should get a quote from a local merchant in the Philadelphia area. If you do not know how much value it is, we reserve the right as the NEC to determine its fair market value or what anyone else would be able to access it for. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to me and I will be more than happy to answer your questions. So very importantly, do not lose your receipts. You need to turn in all receipts when you turn in your spending form. If you buy something online with Amazon, make sure that you print out your receipt. And if you buy Facebook ads, you need to print out your invoice for your Facebook ad, because otherwise you're going to be charged at exactly what it would cost the NEC to target the freshman class. Okay, I got a question about this today. If you print out posters in your own printer, technically it costs you nothing, right? No, so you need to still account for each of those posters at what the fair market value of the printing is, and that's all listed in the candidate packet on the spending form. And if you spend nothing, like I said, you still have to turn in the spending form that says you spent nothing, or else it's automatic disqualification. If you get a sale on some materials, the sale has to be open to the public, or else you have to account for it at the full price. For example, if your parents own a printing company and they can print at like 1 cent per sheet of paper, but that's not available to everyone else, you still have to account for it at whatever the market value is. And finally, if your parents decide to donate money to you, it still counts. You can't take any monetary donations from any other organization or person. $50 is all that you can spend total on your campaign. Okay, so something that is very important. If you decide to campaign with another person, the Kanye and Taylor rule is a little bit outdated, but we're going to go with it anyway. I prefer Jay and Bay, but that's a separate thing. Each candidate still has a max of $50. If you have posters that have both of your names on them, you still have to count both toward each candidate, and I'll show that later. Hold on one second. Okay. So this is an example. If this is a poster, or if this is a bumper sticker, so basically Kanye would have to account for the cost of the bumper sticker on his spending form, and Taylor would also have to account for the same amount on her spending form. So it double counts. If only one candidate records it, then it's not truly representing what was spent, and that's a violation of the FPC. So make sure that if you campaign with someone, it counts toward both of your spending limits. Basically, the purpose of this $50 limit is to ensure fairness across all socioeconomic issues. So make sure you stick by them and do not spend more than $50, even if you're running for 2 positions. So what happens if someone breaks all these rules that the NEC has? Basically, any member of the university may file a charge accusing someone of violating the FPC. If you decide to file a charge, it must refer to a specific rule in the FPC or a specific thing that I said during something like this meeting. So it has to violate a specific rule that was laid out during this election cycle. And if you are charged, you will be informed of that, obviously by 9 p.m. that Friday night, and you will have the opportunity to defend yourself in a public hearing. So basically the timeline for FPC charges. Between 5 and 7 p.m., you may file charges in the office where you are turning over spending forms. By 9 p.m., charges or notifications, if there's an FPC, will be announced. If not, we'll announce the results of the election. And then Sunday, September 21st at 1 p.m. is the FPC hearing. So obviously, if you are accused of violating the FPC, you are required to attend that to defend yourself, and if you do not show up, it's considered an automatic disqualification. So there's 2 officers of the NEC that are involved in the FPC hearing. So one of them is our public advisor, who is responsible for providing guidance to you and walking you through the FPC if you are accused of an FPC violation. He's not allowed to speak on your behalf during the FPC hearing, but he can definitely give you some guidance and help, because it's a difficult document to understand at times. Our grievance officer is Frederick Ding. He determines which charges the NEC files against candidates, because we are also able to file FPC charges against you guys. And he also defends us if someone charges us with an FPC violation. Okay, so if you are found to violate the FPC, the consequences are very severe, and as severe as disqualification from the election completely. We want to make sure that all of this is fair and that everyone has an equal opportunity to succeed, and that's why these rules exist. And something I want to stress to you guys is that this is a university. You guys will be here for the next 4 years. Your reputation carries with you. Everyone in this room is your peer. So just remember that when you're campaigning and when you're thinking about filing FPC charges, that this is not something to be taken lightly, because you're going to be with these people for the next 4 years. I cannot stress it enough. Read the candidate packet and read the FPC. If you have any questions about anything in either, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Okay, so voting. Like I said, voting occurs at insubgov.com between midnight, September 15th, to 5 p.m., September 19th. If you are a joint or dual degree student running in a school that is not your home school, members of your program, as of last spring, can now choose which school that they want to vote in. So basically, if you are in a program and you are running in a school outside of your home school, before this, voters in your program would not be allowed to vote for you. But now they can choose to vote in the school in which you're running, but they have to keep that consistent with the entire voting. They get to choose that before they vote. These are some of the programs. And obviously, you want to solicit votes to get your classmates to vote for you. So write-in candidacies are possible. If you, or if a person gets a number of write-in candidates, write-in votes that exceeds the threshold of the number of signatures that they would have needed, their name will be officially added to the ballot and they will become a candidate. It's important to recognize that they're retroactively bound by the FBC, so everything that they have done before that to campaign or solicit people to vote for them using write-in votes will still be under the FPC's guidance. So even if you're advising someone to run with a write-in campaign, make sure that they read the FPC because that's very important. Okay, so here's something that's very important. This is how many people are running for each position. So we have 13 people running for Class Board President, 4 people running for Executive Vice President, a whopping 0 people running for... We have 2 for finances, 4 for college chair, of which there are 2 positions available, 2 for engineering chair, 2 for nursing chair, 6 for Wharton chair, for a grand total of 36 people running for positions on the class board. For the UA, there are 8 seats available for new student representatives, and there are 22 candidates running. So, you might be wondering, what happens if no one runs? So this is a very peculiar situation. Basically, what happens is, if you submitted signatures, and you had an amount of signatures that is equal to or greater than the number required to become a candidate in the VP external election, you may switch into that election. So that only includes if you had enough signatures for class board president, executive vice president, or vice president of internal affairs or finance. I will advise you, though, that if everyone switches into the VP external election, it's going to become more competitive. So think about that wisely. That said, if only one person switches in, then they automatically win. So it's an interesting bit of game theory for you guys. So basically, if you are choosing to do this, you have to submit your new official acknowledgement of candidacy, which you have in front of you, with your position edited, and you have to initial next to the position change. You may also edit your candidate statement, but you have to submit that to me within 30 minutes following the conclusion of this meeting. So I need that right away if you're changing. And if you are, make sure you come talk to me after the meeting. Okay, so this is very important. This is when you guys become official candidates. Since you guys are all here, check. First step done. You all should have official acknowledgement of candidacy forms. If you are running for 2 positions, you have 2 papers. So basically, make sure all of the details are correct. Whatever name is listed at the top of that, that is exactly how it will appear on the ballot, unless you change it now. Make sure your email and phone numbers are correct, because that's how I will be communicating with you throughout the entire campaign and voting process. Make sure your candidate statement, if you submitted one, is on there, and make sure that there's no minor grammatical or spelling errors. You can make minor changes to this, but you cannot do anything to change the meaning or content of it. These official acknowledgement of candidacy forms, once signed and made sure everything is okay, you must hand these in to me after this meeting, and then you will be officially a candidate. So that's all I have. Good luck to everyone in this room who's running, and now I will take questions.
So hypothetically, could we run with someone and pull our money to buy like supplies like markers and stuff, but then not put our names on the same thing?
Could you clarify what type of purchase you're making?
Like markers and like whatever we need to buy, and then just when it comes to flyers, split that money.
So if you, for example, pool your money to buy one set of markers to be used by both people, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
You both have to account for those markers in your spending form.
Oh, so it wouldn't matter.
No.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. If you use anything to campaign, it has to be on your spending form.
Just clarify
if you have like box markers, you have to go to the post store.
If you have a box of markers already, the value of a marker is actually listed on the spending form. It's on the spending form, so you just can mark it at fair market value.
What if I have no connection to a company, but I called and said that I order in bulk and they gave me a discount? Would that apply to everyone else, then they can also call?
So if the sale is open to the general public, then yes, you're okay, but you need a receipt for that. So his question was, if you didn't hear it, if you get a discount from a company, is that okay to then use that discounted price in your spending form? The answer is yes, if and only if the sale is accessible to the public. If anyone else in this room could access that sale, then it's fine.
So if we were to print our posters and say like Van Pelt where you wouldn't get a receipt, I think it's like 7 cents for like black and white paper and like Van Pelt, could we just say that we...
Yeah, so printing, if you use on-campus printing, you're not going to get a receipt. So make sure that the number of posters you printed is multiplied by the unit cost of each poster, which can be found on the spending form instructions, and just multiply that across to get a total amount.
What if you printed for free but bought your own paper? That one was like
If you print posters at all, or use posters at all, they have to be accounted at the fair market value, as listed on the spending form instructions.
What's the policy with posting on buildings?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Posting on buildings? The policy on that?
You mean just generally posting on buildings?
Taking masking tape, putting it on Huntsman Hall.
So make sure you're in accordance with the rules of the building. For example, Huntsman Hall will probably rip it down. But the thing that we regulate is only one poster per non-building object.
Are we allowed to have endorsements?
Yeah, so good question. So basically, the endorsers period, while not officially run, will begin immediately following this meeting once you all turn in your official acknowledgement of candidates. Because that means that you're now officially a candidate. So if you are on a on-campus organization that wants to endorse you, they are free to do that and they are free to publicize that. However, they cannot spend any money on your behalf or else it has to be recorded on your spending form. But yes, endorsements are allowed immediately following this meeting.
So no super PACs.
No super PACs. We try to avoid comparing Penn student government to the federal government. Any other questions?
I have your posters, you guys talked about double counting the cost if you're running with someone else. What about if you're chalking? Like if you have like vote and then 2 names, how would you like divide the cost of chalk?
It has to be recorded on each person in the full amount.
The entire thing?
Yes. There's also a unit price for sticks of chalk on the spending form instructions.
So what if the chalking is done independently? Like, say someone writes, vote for A, and then someone below there who has no association with them writes, and B.
Whatever you write has to be accounted for in your campaign.
Okay.
So either way, whether or not you wrote that with the other person, it would have to be accounted on both.
Sounds
Does that
good.
make sense? Any other questions?
On the packet, it said that you obviously can't like bribe people, so use things that have monetary value to try and get them to vote for you. So like, how does that account for food? Like, say you have food and like in front of you and you're talking to people and they take that food? Is that,
So,
I don't know how you draw that line.
so the word bribe is not actually used in the FBC, first of all. But basically, you are not allowed to offer anything, any cash or anything of cash equivalency in exchange for a vote. So basically, like pizza does not have cash equivalency. I wish. But you are allowed to give food because that's part of the campaigning process.
You account for that.
You have to account for it on your spending form, obviously, with a receipt. Questions? Further questions? And remember, if you have any questions, if anything comes up throughout the rest of this process, always reach out to me, and I will be more than happy to answer you as soon as possible. Other questions?
Yeah, so we get to vote for more than one person to be on, right? So,
Yeah, so for UA, this is all written in the candidate packet. Voters may vote for up to 8 candidates. They can vote for less, but they can vote for up to 8.
So choose to vote for other people too.
Yes. Any other questions about campaigning, policies, spending, voting? Okay, so as soon as you turn these forms in, oh, did not see you, sorry.
if I'm in the college, I can't vote for anyone that's like going for an engineering chair or anything. They have to be in that school.
So the way that the online voting system works is that you log in with your PEN key. So when you log in, it's aware of all your credentials. So each person will receive a ballot based on what school they're in. So for the UA, as long as you are a new student this year, either class of 2018 or transfer student, you can vote for UA new student representatives. However, if you're in class board, everyone in the class of 2018 can vote for the president, executive vice president, and VPs. But you can only vote for the class chair of the school in which you are enrolled. Does that make sense? And if you're in a dual degree program, you get to choose which school you vote in.
So are there rules against putting flyers under the doors? I saw you mentioned it briefly, but...
Yeah, so that's a college house rule. And basically, if you are thinking about doing that, you should contact the college house team, because likely they will not allow it.
You can't get permission to do it, though.
Yes.
It's possible.
Yes.
So where exactly would we find the list of rules that we are and are not allowed to do for each of the college houses? We just have to contact them?
You have to contact college house teams, yeah.
So like, do you know like just in general where they have like all the flyers for the clubs, can we put one there?
Are you talking about like on bulletin boards in
Yeah.
the college houses? So that's also up to college houses. It depends on which house it is. But definitely if you have any questions about that, reach out to the house team.
Does tape count as a fixing material? It wasn't on your list.
Yes,
That's
tape is
good.
a fixing material.
Okay. Also, what if we were to use tape to like write your name on the ground or something?
So then if you're not affixing anything, you're using it to write.
Okay.
So it's no longer an affixing material.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yes, if they-
I'm just trying to find if they exist.
Good question. Some people try to bend the rules. Any other questions?
So we're not allowed to post on Penn Facebook, like walls, but can we post a comment on that wall?
You cannot use any posts or comments on any official Penn group. Does that make sense?
That includes like Penn Class of 2018 group.
So I don't know the exact name of it, so I don't want to say it right now, but it's run by the Office of Admissions. It's the one that you have to like submit a request to join when you're admitted to Penn. I don't know the exact name of it on Facebook, but it's an officially university sanctioned and run college Penn page. All right.
Like, so for chalking, are we basically allowed to write on any, like, horizontal surface that, well, like on the ground that is not like the bridge?
I mean, if it's obviously like beyond, like inside, you obviously can't chalk inside.
Yeah, that's what I like
But
outside.
most places you're allowed to chalk, but definitely check the FPC just to make sure that you're not chalking somewhere that is not allowed.
You said we can't put any posters actually in the bathrooms, but can we put them in the bathroom door?
So that's something, again, college house. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so that concludes our candidate meeting. If you would please submit your official acknowledgement of candidacy to me at this time. You may come and introduce the candidate.
Go Fred! Go Lacey!